The following program contains an all-you-can-eat philosophical buffet. If you suffer from mental indigestion, Randall may not be right for you. Check with your gastronomist.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. The only TV host arrested more times than Mahatma Gandhi, Randall Terry.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You know, there could be an award someday that people are holding on to in the flames of the lake of fire, and they really regret that they haven't. We'll talk more about Madonna and Anderson Cooper and their assault on the Boy Scouts in today's program. Also, CPAC considering changing their name. What might it be? And who won the CPAC straw poll to be the next Republican nominee for president in 2016? Thankfully, not Jeb Bush. That and so much more to talk about today and how you can impact the culture. But first, a word of wisdom from someone who could clearly model burqas. Granny Jihad.
Akbar, welcome, children. You know, back in the day of Apostle Muhammad, children respect their elder. So, when Holy Apostle Muhammad, peace be upon him, when he give back his sword to daughter Fatima, he say, "Take sword and wash blood from it, for behold, it has served me well today." Children, listen well to the example of daughter Fatima.
Welcome to the program, friend. We're not exactly sure what is happening, but the word in the street, and you know how rumors are the grist for this show, not. The word in the street, which has clearly been displayed over the last few years, is that CPAC, conservative PAC, one of the oldest and most influential and most prestigious so-called right-wing PACs, is now considering becoming, well, open-minded. That's the phrase. I think what they're going to do is change the name of the PAC. We're actually floating some ideas. Squish PAC, Moderate PAC, We've Lost Our Way PAC, Broken Moral Compass PAC, Equivocation PAC, anything but conservative PAC. And this comes, of course, in the debate of the role that log cabin Republicans, that's a cute little name, it means homosexual Republicans, should play in deciding the future of the Republican Party. We'll keep you posted on it. Not sure where it's going to head, but it's going somewhere. Also, CPAC had a straw poll over who could be the Republican nominee. Guess who won? Well, first of all, it wasn't this guy, Jeb Bush. He withdrew. Hooray. I wish he would have stayed in because he probably would have gotten 1 or 2%. That would have been fun. All right, coming in first place, the new hero, the new darling of the religious right and the conservative right and the Tea Party all rolled up in one, Rand Paul. He came in with 25%. Beat out Marcus Rubio, who came in second place at 23%. And, sad for him, third place went to Rick Santorum, who pulled in about 8% of the vote. All right, it is a long way out from 2016. Anything could happen. But I'll tell you, from the players that were on that stage, Rand Paul would certainly be my first choice. Showed himself to be courageous with his filibuster, is calling for a federal law that would acknowledge personhood of an unborn child from the moment of conception. We'll see. He's a Christian man. He seems to be made of the right stuff. All I can say is God bless him. God bless him. If he can get the nomination without compromising with his Christian beliefs, wouldn't that be fun? Hasn't happened since Ronald Reagan. All right, we have to go to the big story today that I want to focus on, and that is the militant homosexuals, their efforts to collapse the the segregation, the discrimination of homosexuals from the Boy Scouts, and the abominable interview that President Obama did. Roll tape.
Next week, the board of the Boy Scouts of America is going to vote on whether to end their national ban on gays in scouting. Should scouting be open to gays?
Yes.
Why so?
Well, because I think that, my attitude is that gays and lesbians should have access and opportunity the same way everybody else does in every institution and walk of life. And the Scouts are a great institution that are promoting young people and exposing them to opportunities and leadership that will serve people for the rest of their lives. And I think that nobody should be barred for that.
So, President Obama, is what you're saying that you want homosexuals to have access and opportunity to children? Access and the opportunity to seduce them? Access to them for God knows what? On camping trips? I mean, what defines a homosexual is not sentiment, not temptation, not feelings, but actions. Actions. And what President Obama is suggesting is that 99% of American parents who have children in the Boy Scouts, that we should be willing to knowingly change the rules so that homosexuals can come in and openly say, hey, I'm gay and I want access. To what end? Really and truly, as I prepared for this show with the help of my staff, the question emerges, to what end? Some of you have seen the skit from Saturday Night Live, Canteen Boy, where he was a young boy in the Boy Scouts, and he was the homosexual seducer. And it was a sick skit, sick. And at the end of the day, what defines the homosexual is their sexual activity. So we're saying that we don't want this sexual activity to happen with our sons. And yet, people like Madonna, President Obama, are demanding that homosexuals have access and opportunity. A poor choice of words, President Obama. A disgusting choice of words. When we come back from this break, we'll have a chance to watch Madonna in a Boy Scout uniform and listen to some of her words of wisdom regarding homosexuals in the Boy Scouts. Don't go away.
A fine hat is the mark of a fine man.
How would you like to be able to reach hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of potential customers with your product or your company or your web-based business? Well, you can do that right here on this show. Every single day, we get phone calls or letters or orders online from states all over the country where people are watching this television show. Right now, we are seen in 45 cities at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and then a rerun again at 12:30 midnight. You can reach them using this show at advertising rates that are so inexpensive, it would blow your mind. So, if you're interested, contact us at the phone number that you see on the screen or the email address, and we can talk about how you can grow your business and help support this show. Welcome back, friend. The Boy Scouts are under attack. And the reason is that they represent generations of duty, God, honor, a straight-laced life. Who else would you want to attack except Christianity itself? And so Bill Gates, for example, one of the wealthiest men in the world and a perverse, God-hating, baby-killing monster, is saying, hey, it's 2013, Boy Scouts, get with the times. Bill, do you really want your 14-year-old boy to have unthinkable sexual acts, unspeakable sexual acts brought into his life by a predator, homosexual? Madonna thinks it's all the rage. Let's watch Madonna from the GLAAD Awards, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. And Madonna recently gave an award to Anderson Cooper of CNN, who tragically came out of the closet and had this speech to give. I'm going to just play a little portion of it. Go ahead, roll tape.
Howdy. So happy to be here. I wanted to be a Boy Scout, but they wouldn't let me join. I think that's... I can build a fire. I know how to pitch a tent. I have a very good sense of direction. I can rescue kittens from trees. Listen, I want to do good for the community. And most importantly, I know how to scout for boys.
So we see here that even in her cursing and swearing at them, Madonna, I'm sorry, honey, if you didn't understand this. The first word in the title is Boy Scout. I know that it appears from watching you for several decades that you have extensive, what clinical psychologists call sexual confusion, all right, or gender confusion. All right, you have identity issues. We accept that. You're a great singer. You're not aging too well, by the way. That lifestyle of yours might be taking its toll on you. But anyway, maybe you missed this. It's Boy Scout. And you're a girl. Okay? But beyond that, look at the joke at the end. I know how to scout for boys. This is all about being sexual predators, people. That's what this is about. Mainstreaming a lifestyle that is destructive. We're going to talk more about the lifestyle in a minute, but you have to understand, if you can smash a symbol, or if you can capture the symbol, then what the symbol represents ceases to function, ceases to exist. So the reason that Gates and Madonna are going after the Boy Scouts is by smashing that symbol or capturing it for the agenda of the homosexual movement. They can then turn to everyone and say, well, what's wrong with you, Royal Rangers at the Assemblies of God? What's wrong with you, little Baptist clubs and clubs of any other nature? It's an attempt to break down what the image and what the icon represents. And we must not, we will not stand by while they do it. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about biblical morality, and I want to talk about you. Because the preservation of justice oftentimes depends upon the courage of her guardians. There have been many battles lost. Physical, military battles, political battles, culture war battles, battles for the definition of words. There have been many wars lost due to the cowardice, the sins of omission, the sins of silence that have kept the just and the righteous from doing their duty. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back.
You know what I gotta say about Randall, Terry? Just push play! Ow!
Friend, you need to get this book. We Won't Get Fooled Again. Listen to this. I came to the conclusion that most folks were left over from the Reagan era who were no longer warriors, but are now either too old or unhealthy and had compromised and become comfortable with the Republican establishment. They turned these organizations pretty much into direct mail fundraising fronts and were making tons of money and living the good life in beautiful mansions. The conservative movement had transformed itself from a very dynamic, principled organization in the Reagan years to a bunch of compromising, useless, and ineffective money-making machines. I'm reading to you from the new blockbuster book, We Won't Get Fooled Again, that names names, shows organizations, shows how they say that they're Christian, but they betray Christ, they betray biblical principles in the public square, and we are funding them. Go to the website, call us on the phone, and order it today. I'll send it to you for free if you want. God bless you. Welcome back to the program, friend. Let me ask you a very simple question. Are there any behaviors that are intrinsically right or intrinsically wrong? Is there anything that is inherently evil? Now, I ask you this because I have a lot of fun when I go to speak at college campuses, because college campuses, especially secular state universities, tend, not always, but tend to try and teach moral relativism, that there's no such thing as a moral absolute. There's no such thing as truth. And if there is, you can't know it. You can't find it out. Thankfully, my wife went to a very conservative state school for her philosophy training, and she learned about absolute truth from some great Catholic professors at the State University of Nebraska. Great philosophy department. So I'm not trying to paint with a completely 100% broad brush, but for the most part, a lot of young people go and they get poisoned. So when I do have a chance to talk to these young people, I ask them, is anything wrong? Anything intrinsically evil? No. Okay, so what Hitler did to the Jews was not wrong. Well, yes, it's wrong. Well, why is it wrong? Well, he killed other people. Well, who says that's wrong? Well, I think it's wrong. Well, who are you to put your morals onto the Nazis? Who are you to tell German legislators and political officials what they can and cannot do with the Jews in their government or in their state or in their community? What are you, God? So you just take the thing and take it to its logical extreme, its logical conclusion. If there's no such thing as right and wrong, then ultimately all we have is personal preference, or maybe what we can pull off with the barrel of a gun, or maybe what we can get some federal tyrant to rule. Now, if there is such a thing as right and wrong, good and evil, where do those definitions come from? I'm asking you, where do they come from? They come from God. They don't come from a majority, because if they did, then when the majority changes, the definition can change. They don't come from our feelings, because our feelings can change. They certainly don't come from a court. If they are going to be unchanging and eternal, they have to come from an outside source. Somebody above us. Somebody who makes the rules. So you've got whether or not right and wrong exists, and if it does, who gets to define it? If it is God that defines it, where do we get to find his definition? It's a valid question. The Quran? Book of Mormon? Well, the Christian religion, which has liberated and served and enlightened the human race for 2,000 years, teaches that the definition of right and wrong comes from the scriptures and from cohesive church theology, historic church theology, okay? That's where the definition comes from. I'm going to read to you some passages from the Bible, but as I read them, this is the question I want you to ask yourself. Am I smarter than God? Am I wiser than God? Am I more just or more merciful than God? Or put negatively, is God mean? Is God unfair? Is God blind to the times in which we live? And then finally, on the heels of that, I want to ask you, are you willing to say what God says publicly? That, again, comes around to the crisis that we face of the lack of courage and valor in Christian people, laymen and clerics alike, clergy and people in the pews, the lack of courage to say the truth. Let me read to you a couple of passages. Leviticus chapter 18, verse 22. Do not lie with a man as one lies with a woman. This is detestable. King James says it's an abomination. Leviticus 20, 13. If a man lies with a man as one lies with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They must be put to death. Their blood will be on their own heads. I'm not advocating the execution of homosexuals for their behavior because I believe that is undone in the New Testament. But you need to see that in the scriptures, the homosexual acts are detestable. They are abominable. They bring God's judgment. 1 Corinthians 6, 9 through 10. Do you not know that the wicked will not inherit the kingdom of God? Don't be deceived. Neither the sexually immoral, nor idolaters, nor adulterers, nor male prostitutes, nor homosexual offenders, nor thieves, nor greedy, nor drunkards, nor slanderers, nor swindlers will inherit the kingdom of God. Romans chapter 1. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. And it goes on in the same way. By the way, look, they exchanged natural relations for unnatural. In the same way, men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed indecent acts with one another, with other men, and received in themselves a due penalty of their perversion. It goes on in the book of Romans, as well in Deuteronomy, as well as in Leviticus, to say that God will judge a nation that allows these practices to flourish and to be embraced. When we stand against these things, we're actually standing for our own survival as a people. I'll be right back. If we are together, nothing is impossible. If we are divided, all will fail. Sir Winston Churchill. How would you like to be able to reach hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of potential customers with your product or your company or your web-based business? Well, you can do that right here on this show. Every single day, we get phone calls or letters or orders online from states all over the country where people are watching this television show. Right now, we are seen in 45 cities at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and then a rerun again at 12:30 midnight. You can reach them using this show at advertising rates that are so inexpensive it would blow your mind. So, if you're interested, contact us at the phone number that you see on the screen or the email address, and we can talk about how you can grow your business and help support this show. Welcome back, friend. I speak from a great deal of pain in this because, as anyone who does news searches on me knows, that my late son, who died in a car crash, was a homosexual. It caused enormous strain and stress, which much of it we had worked through, but I could never say to him, I accept what you are doing. If your son came up to you or your daughter came up and said, Mom, Dad, I want to be a crack cocaine addict, would you say to them, I support you in the lifestyle decision that you've made because all I want is for you to be happy? No, you wouldn't say that. Not if your head is screwed on, right? Because you know that crack cocaine and using these kind of drugs is an inherently self-destructive behavior, which will put someone in the grave. I didn't want my son in the grave. I didn't want my son to contract a deadly disease. I did not want my son to lose his soul. I pray he died in God's grace. He never lost his faith in Jesus, but it was very difficult, I promise you. I don't even want to think about it. It was so painful. But folks, look, we have to have fidelity to the truth. There is a massive propaganda campaign going on right now to try and beat down the Boy Scouts to the end that the homosexual behaviors that are detestable, repugnant, abominable, that cause people to lose their souls forever. There's a massive campaign to try and make it normal, beautiful, lovely, all the things that it's not. So my encouragement to you is this: count the cost and speak the truth. Call in radio talk shows, write letters to the editor, write a pamphlet and pass it out at your church. If you or somebody that you know is a member of the Boy Scouts, raise your voice, howl your lungs out and say, this is wrong. We do not want homosexual predators to have access and opportunity to our sons. We're going to stand for what is true and right. God bless you.